Duh. Subscribe to the channel. The room was quiet, clean and cozy, almost like a home. It's no surprise, because it was paid. Only rich women were allowed in. Alia was one of them. The girl was years old, cute, with a pleasant smile and kind eyes. And she was calm and gentle. Only now Alia was not like herself. She was nervous, walking backwards and forward, and didn't find her place. It was a joke. The woman was preparing to become a mother. Moreover, the construction was expected. This was a very rare case for their maternity home and the city as a whole. That's why doctors were circling around her. They listened and touched her huge belly all the time. They took endless tests and decided at the council whether to make her a breast cut or not. Alia was very afraid of the operation and wanted to avoid it with all her might. Only the ACUshers doubted that she would manage on her own. All this made her very upset. But what scared Alia even more was that she would become a single mother, even though she had a good husband. Oh, the story was a bit confusing, and it was all her father's fault. She had to be brought up and put to sleep for a while. All the events of her difficult life were immediately remembered, and these thoughts made her feel very bad. The thing is that Alia was an adopted daughter for her rich father, the famous businessman Yevgeny Sherbakov. He had given her a year-old daughter and never hid it. On the contrary, he was rather proud of his actions. From one and another life in the shelter, the girl almost didn't remember anything, just some fragments. Screams of a wimpy, nasty nanny, Aunt Polia, bad, fresh soup, and constant pats and undergirls and granddaughters. Since then, Alia has become accustomed to obey the elders and not to be shy. This was how it went after the daughter-in-law. Of course, now she lived in a luxurious mansion. She no longer had to hide bread and sweets under the pillow, because everything was in excess. I don't want to. Only the father was too strict and demanding. All her life was written down as by notes, as he considered the father to be necessary. And so on and so forth. Alia studied very well. It was easy for her, but she was just a child. Sometimes she wanted to play with the kid, to run around the yard, or to go to bed before lunch, and to go to school at least once. But Dad didn't approve of such a mischief, and strictly made sure that the daughter studied properly and matched his status. After school, there was a university. Alia didn't have any fear. Dad didn't approve of any nightclubs. Dad tried to give her a business grip. He told her how to run a business, how to protect himself so that the competitors wouldn't crush him. But then he was in a complete fiasco. Alia was too soft, quiet, and easygoing, and she didn't fit into the ranks of entrepreneurs. Then Yevgeny Borisovich changed his tactics and began to insist on Alia's soon marriage and the birth of an heir. Someone had to tell the whole story of his life in his old age, since his daughter was unable to guide him. Dad didn't think for long, and he found his daughter and a promising fiancé, Oleg Belov, the son of the governor. He had long considered all the prospects of such a family and had already lost his hands. Alia dared not to cross the line with his strict dad and began to date a guy who was a major. At first, there was even sympathy between young people, but soon it became clear. They are completely different, like the sky and the earth. Oleg was very fiery, sharp, loved extreme. He needed sharp sensations like the air, literally, in everything. Alia was completely different. It was alien to her and scared her. She liked to walk around the park, read in silence, listen to calm music. In clubs and concerts of rock stars, where Oleg regularly took her, she was so bad. My head hurt from the loud music and the noisy crowd. I wanted to run away. Oleg was so dead tired of home. He was crazy. And soon he started an intrigue with a cool biker. Sweet. So the couple ran away, unable to create a family. Yevgeny Borisovich was not happy. He treated Alia. What is this? You can't work in my field. You don't want to get married. You've missed such a fiancé. How is that? You know what, my dear? Do what you want. And you will not be able to take my grandson. Got it? Tomorrow we will go to the center of the surgery. I have an agreement with a great professional doctor. He will look at you, tell you whether you can give birth or not. We have lived with Oleg for half a year, and you have not gotten pregnant. Maybe you have some problems. Alia was very offended at first. She thought he was rude in her life. He has already reached the health of a woman. She treats him like a doll, so tired of everything. But as usual, the girl again surrendered and agreed to go for a consultation. She was worried herself. Why so? After a long and thorough examination, Professor Winnis' verdict, who killed Alia, was on the run. Listen to me, my dear, sit down. What I'm going to tell you now may upset you very much. You have an ovarian anomaly. That is why you will never be able to get pregnant. Alas, Alia burst into tears out of surprise. I didn't expect to hear that. Will she ever be able to become a mother? But the doctor made her happy. Don't cry. It's all over. Everything is not as hopeless as it seems. Medicine has long stepped forward, and now there is nothing impossible. Yes, you can't get pregnant naturally, but for this they came up with the procedure of artificial fertilization, or ECO. We will take your partner's material and transfer it to the mother. But you'll manage it yourself. Yes, I won't lie, it's expensive, but there's a big chance of giving birth to twins, or even triplets at once. We're just transplanting a few embryos. Believe me, we have % of the good results. Hundreds of families have successfully become parents. So don't despair. You have such a chance. Alia smiled through tears. Thank you, doctor. We really did rely on you. As soon as I get married and decide, I'll come to you right away. Goodbye. But it's too early to think about it. I don't even have a boyfriend. The girl didn't even suspect that her father was standing behind the door and heard all their conversations with the doctor. Yevgeny Borisovich seemed to be involved in this idea. He literally wandered around with his grandchildren and persuaded Alia to take this crazy step. The girl initially resisted. Dad, how do you imagine this? We broke up with Oleg. I don't even have a father or a father. What children? Who will be the father and the child? And why should I rush? I'm not years old after all. But the businessman just got angry. My dear daughter, try to hear me and understand. Yes, you are not, but I am already in the 6th decade. I have made you a daughter at a good age. I raised you as a relative. Best rehearsers, expensive things, phones. And now I'm asking for such a small thing. To give me a grandson at the age of old. But the doctor told you, you still won't be able to get pregnant. So what to do? I will personally look through the donor database, study their files, and choose the best one. If not now, then when? You understand, I may not have time to raise my grandson on his feet. Do you understand? And what then? My empire, built over the years, will collapse. Or will you get a competitor? Don't worry, I'll do everything in the best possible way. I'll even find a good husband, so that he would appear on the People with you sometimes. No one will suspect anything, and then we'll tell everyone that you broke up with him. It's a matter of course. Come on, agree. I beg you. In Alia's head, such a wildness could not fit in. It seemed to her that everything her father had thought up was unnatural, and nothing good will come out of this idea. It seems that her father uses her as a tool for the birth of grandchildren. No more. And for some reason it was so offensive, so painful. Again, he decided to marry her. But on the other hand, he had a share of truth in his words. Alia didn't want to and was very afraid to stay without a grandchild. And so she will have a son or a daughter. There will be joy in life. Well, what about the alien man? How many such cases when the bridegroom left them and the bride is already pregnant? And it's okay. They live somehow, and then they get married again. In general, thinking about all this, Alia, as always, gave in to her father and agreed to the procedure of the ultrasound. Everything went well, surprisingly. Alia got pregnant with the first attempt. But when it turned out that all 3 embryos were stuck and the triplets were born, the girl had a miscarriage. Of course, she dreamed of becoming a mother, but not 3 children at once. Alia was not ready for this, but Yevgeny Borisovich was trying. But how? 3 heirs at once. Moreover, 2 of them are boys. Is this misfortune? The businessman seemed to have a second breath. He began to build plans for the future, surrounded his daughter with care, literally forcibly forced her to eat vitamins, bought only environmentally friendly farming products, watched Alia walk and examine her on time. And in 2 weeks before the birth, for the sake of reassurance, I put her in this elite maternity home. Who knows what? Maybe the fights will start sooner, and then she will be under the supervision of experienced doctors. Only Alia, The further she went, the more sad she was. She was literally rolled up by sticky fear. Thoughts were confused in her head. How will the births go? Will there be an operation? How will I cope with 3 babies? Will I be able to love them at all? Oh my God, why did I agree to this adventure? I feel like a walking incubator. Dad, as always, decided everything for me. But how long will it continue? I never really loved it. Oleg doesn't count. This is also a gift from Dad. It seems that I don't live my life, but Dad's. And no one from my very birth has any business with my desires. She suddenly poked her in the side, and suddenly the ocean seemed to spill under her on the bed. The girl was frightened and screamed out loud. Help! I'm giving birth! Sister! Everyone ran away at her scream. The intercourse began. They called her doctor, who was hired by her father for the long-term delivery. And it began. If Alya knew how painful and scary it is to give birth, she would definitely take all her words back. That she categorically refuses the surgery. For hours of hellish pain and suffering, professionalism and endurance of the doctor. And finally, one after the other, 3 twins appeared in the world. Boria, Vitalik, and Yulia. They were also invented by their father in advance. Alya only called the girl as she wanted. When the babies were put in her breasts in turn, Alya suddenly melted. All her doubts went somewhere else. How can you not love them? These native noses and eyes are like beads. The children were sobbing, trying to grab their breasts, and tears of happiness flowed down Alya's cheeks. No, after all, children are a miracle. They immediately called their father, informed him of the good news. He screamed and cried in the phone. He was so happy. And Alya, tormented by the long births, finally fell into oblivion. The days flew by quickly, and soon the discharge was scheduled. Of course, the father took care of everything in advance, and in the ward they had already waited an hour for 3 beautiful snow-free envelopes with clothes for the children. And Alya suddenly got sad. She was not blind and not deaf, and heard that they were being sent to the nurse and the nursemaid in the corners. This rich woman is strange. She gave birth to 3, and who is the father of the children is not a goo-goo. She is silent like a fish. Father was just standing there clapping, and that's it. She was walking, apparently shamelessly. She looked so quiet. They say that in the quiet swamp, there are no ghosts. Oh, the youth has gone. There is nothing sacred. Alya became uncomfortable with these parishes. She was so offended. She wanted to shout to everyone that she was not shameless at all, and that she was not walking. Or at least make her take a man from the house, not a father. Let's wipe our noses. She was talking to my father on the phone. Where is your substitute husband? Oh, Dad. Why is he not around now? You know that they are talking about me here. It's even embarrassing to retell. Yevgeny Borisovich just justified himself. Yes, I got a little too close with my husband. Poor man is such. He was probably scared that I would really force him to marry. But don't worry, daughter. I don't care about those old ladies from the village. And you don't think about it, or the milk will be lost. I'll meet you as it should be, even if I have to pay a limo. Think about the children, and the rest is my concern. Alya was upset and hung up. Of course, Dad is as always in his repertoire. You'll think I don't care what she's worried about. And then in her head, one pretty crazy one. Her quiet character, the plan. From the very morning, Alya fed and dressed the babies, put them to sleep. And then she called the nurse, Liza, and began to whisper to her. Dear, help me. Let me out for half an hour. I'll go out for a walk, breathe some air, and go to the store for a minute. The babies will still sleep for at least an hour. Just look after my children, please, until I'm gone. Liza was staring at her. What are you saying? Olga Evgenyevna, this is a maternity home, not a passing yard. We have sterility. It's not allowed. I'll be discharged on the first day if someone finds out. What if you don't come back at all? Such cases also happen. After giving birth to a woman, your consciousness changes. Maybe you have postpartum depression. Who knows? Alya took out a large wallet and put it in the nurse's pocket. And so it is not allowed. Don't be silly. Where am I going? You know whose daughter I am. But today is still a day off. There is no one. And the doctor on duty is still in another department. I found out everything. I'm fast, one leg here, the other there. but I really need to go out. Shaking the money in my pocket, the nurse shaved her hair, waving her hand. Go. But if everything suddenly opens up, I didn't see you and didn't let you go. And come back soon. Don't let me down, please. I'll take care of the kids. Don't worry. Alec wet her pants, fixed her blanket, hurried out, and quietly went out. She walked across the road, looked around. She was so absorbed in her ideas that she was ready for any madness. She noticed a young, cute guy walking towards her. She immediately threw herself at him and threw up. Excuse me, what's your name? May I ask you something? The guy was surprised and threw his eyebrows. I'm Michael, what's wrong? What's the matter? Are we acquainted? The girl began to explain in a way. My name is Alia. I have a huge request for you. You see, I gave birth to 3 of them on the days soon to discharge, and there is no one to take me. It just happened. And I will pay you generously. And then we'll just split up in different directions, and that's it. You don't lose anything, do you? You'll earn the opposite. The guy twisted the whiskey. Are you a cuckoo? Not everyone is at home. No, I don't play such games. I know you, the girls who left. First, you'll hang out, and then you'll hang your children on me. You'll write my name in the documents, make me pay the bills. I don't need such surprises. I'm sorry, I have to go. I'm in a hurry. And the young man quickly went crazy, speeding up the pace. Alia fell into despair. Indeed, what did she expect? That the first person to meet her would agree to take her from the maternity home? What a fool. But how could she not want the entire staff of the department to be hanging around the windows, watching her father take her away and again chop her bones? What should I do? And suddenly, she noticed a wanderer in the distance. He was sorting the contents of the garbage bin, looking for an empty jar. Alia looked at him. A young guy, it seems, looks like her rival. Pleasant appearance and not a bad singer. Yes, he is dressed poorly, old worn jeans and a shirt in a cage, stone, dusty kids. But not quite a bum. It is clear that he has recently been slumped. Take a risk or what? Although it is a shame if a wanderer comes to take her. Then it's probably better to be a father. The stranger noticed that the girl was staring at him intently and thoughtfully. He got away from his work and became very interested. Good afternoon, Mississippi. What are you looking at me like that? Did you identify yourself? Or do you need any help? You look like you're on the edge of an abyss, right in the eye. Alia suddenly decided and asked, Yes, you're right. I really need help. You want to earn a lot of money. Just for 1 hour. The guy jumped up. Who doesn't want to? I'm ready for any feat for the sake of such a beauty. Only if it's legal. Otherwise, I have no problems with the police. I have enough of my own. Alia sighed, took a risk, and told everything to the brooches. At the end, she added here, Igor, keep the bank card. I wrote the PIN code on a piece of paper. Take off your money, get yourself in order, buy a nice suit, flowers, air balloons, and tomorrow at AM you'll be waiting for me near the maternity home. And call a taxi at this time. If you play the role of a spouse well, I'll pay you back. Do you agree? The guy smiled. Of course. The request is more than strange, to be honest. But I also need money for the cut, you see. So I'll do everything in the best possible way, don't doubt it. I won't let you down. Alia smiled too. Well, okay. Then see you tomorrow. I'll be waiting. I don't know why, but I believe you. I have to run to the children. Bye. See you tomorrow. The woman rushed back to the maternity home. Thank God she was not enough, and the children slept tight. Everything went smoothly. Her heart literally jumped out of her chest. For the first time in her life, she allowed herself to obey her father and do her own thing. After a few minutes of talking to Igor, Olga fell in love with him. And with some inner feeling, she understood that he wouldn't cheat, wouldn't disappear with her card. Although the risk was of course great. But what's done is done. You can't turn back. And Alia called her father and said that the discharge was at AM. Alia really wanted to believe that tomorrow, her, like all other relatives, will be waiting for a nice man at the gate of the maternity home, not her father. Even if it's not her husband. Let them know each other for just 5 minutes, but everyone will see that she is not alone. She did not walk the children, but someone needs her. Let her walk on the street. This crazy rush of hers was rather a cry of despair than a simple caress of a rich lady. After all, Alia, like any other woman, desperately wanted to be loved and happy. But her father always drove her into tough frames, imposed what only he needed, and she could not get out of these villages. The day of the graduation was here. Alia was excited in the morning in anticipation of this event. At exactly 8 o'clock, she went out with the kids and began to look around confused. She looked for the eyes of Igor, and then she saw another picture. 2 policemen were leading her hired husband. He was in full parade, in an expensive, beautiful suit, with a huge bouquet of flowers and air balloons. The guy looked fresh and didn't look like a wanderer at all. But why the police? What's going on? I just missed these troubles. Alia was not in the right mind. The nurses were also prepared to watch this show. You won't see this every day. One of the guards of order turned to Alia. Good afternoon. Are you Cherbakov Olga Evgenyevna? This citizen was taking money from someone else's card, namely from your name, and the amounts were decent. Tell me, did he steal it from you? We were informed by the alert citizens. But comrade swears that he is your husband. Is that true? Alia nodded her head, trying to make an unobtrusive and carefree look. Oh, I'm sorry. There was a misunderstanding. Yes, this is my husband Igor, that's right. And I gave him the map myself. So everything is fine. I'm sorry, we have a celebration. Here, we take the children home. We have 3 of us. Can we go home? The policeman was in a daze. It's you who are sorry. Congratulations. Apparently we overdid it with vigilance. All the best to you. The policeman left, and Igor, as if nothing had happened, rushed to hug Alia. He gave her a bouquet of flowers and took 2 babies from the nurse himself, and Alia was the 3rd. The guy was shivering. Dear, thank you for our children. You forgive me for not being able to come from a business trip before. You understand business yourself. I love you so much, my dear. Well, are we going home? How do you feel? The couple got into a taxi and left, and the staff was still surprised for a long time. No one expected that this mysterious rich girl still had a husband. Alia was happy despite the police's order. She shone bright. After all, everything went great. Young mom thanked the sincere guy. Thank you, huge Igor. You helped me so much. I think everyone believed that we were a couple. You're just a good boy. So I became a husband. You can't return the card. Take off the rest of the money from it. I still have it in reserve. I don't keep big amounts there. And you will need it. Well, I came. Goodbye. Good luck to you in everything. The guy was embarrassed and answered quietly. I was very glad to help Olga. It wasn't difficult for me. And the role of a husband is so beautiful. I really liked it. It's a pity that it's all on the outside. I can't offer you anything. You're a princess, and I'm a beggar. You're lucky too, Alia. And your children are wonderful. I really can't imagine how you'll cope with 3 at once. I was glad to meet you. So they parted ways. Yevgeny Borisovich literally lost the gift of speech when he saw Alia with the children at home. He started to be suspicious. Daughter, how could this be? Did you come alone? Why? We agreed on an hour. I was almost going to leave. Alia just waved her hand. They transferred the resignation, and that's how it happened. Don't worry, everything is fine. Well, Grandpa, meet your long-awaited grandchildren. Take Boria, and I'll take Yulia and Vitalik. How will I be alone with them 3? I don't even know. You'll have to hire a nanny. The father immediately called and replied sharply. It's okay, you can do it. Learn to overcome the difficulties, my daughter. I'll hire a nanny, but for 3 hours, no more. You have nothing to relax about. You are a mother, so you raise children. What else do you do? Alia was even offended. The father said it as if she was no longer capable of anything. Why does he dislike her so much? He himself begged him to give birth to grandchildren. And now all the worries about her have gone. Then Alia's life became like a hell, especially in the first 6 months. The kids didn't want to eat or sleep synchronously. Only one would fall asleep, the other would scream, and so on, until the end. The kids had stomach aches, then their teeth were cut, so the trouble was not in the right direction. The situation was saved by a new, experienced nanny, Elena Ivanovna. She saw that the young mom was on the edge. So I immediately gathered the kids for a walk. And Alia said, pull yourself together and go to sleep, or you'll fall off your feet soon. You have only 1 day left. I don't understand, Yevgeny Borisovich. I could come for the whole day. It would be much easier for you, Alya. After all, it's not easy to raise 3 children at once. And why is your father so stubborn? After all, I have offered him my services several times. Alya was just breathing and pressing her shoulders. I don't know, Elena Ivanovna. I can't understand it myself. But I was so tired, my eyes just blinded. I'll go lie down. And she immediately fell asleep. When the children turned 6 months old, it became easier. They were already sitting and could do each other in the manner, while Alya was doing housework. Yes, and the girl is already used to it and developed her schedule for herself. It seemed to be working out. The father was not content with his grandchildren. He would spend the weekend with them with great pleasure, and he was waiting for them to leave. One day the nanny got sick, and Alya went for a walk to the park with her child. Many people carried her to the path she used to walk and meet Igor. It was hard to believe, but he was here now, as if time had stopped. The boy waved his brush and painted the benches. Alya called him first. Igor, what a meeting. How are you? I see you've already found a job. Well done. The boy was embarrassed and blushed, but was clearly delighted with the meeting. Ulya, you're getting better. You've lost weight like a little thumb, and the babies have grown up. TCH, such beautiful little girls. Daughter looks a lot like you. But the boy is in his father's, apparently. What kind of work is there? So the temporary work was turned over. It's better than looking for a bottle of vodka. I'm so ashamed, to be honest. Alya sat on the bench, began to sing Children with Water, and carefully asked Igor, listen, why don't you find a normal job? But you can see that you are a smart, normal guy. Why are you slacking off? Where do you spend the night? What if I help you? Don't you get tired of this life of a nomad? Don't get mad. I just want to understand. Igor sighed and started to share his pain. He probably wanted to tell this story to someone. Yes, you're right, Alya. It's not life, it's punishment. And I don't like living like this. But what can I do? It's my own fault. I'm just in a normal family with my mother. And we had an apartment, even in Khrushchevka. My father was not there. I know nothing about him. I tried to find out how much. And my mother was very good. She loved me. She was very sorry. She worked as a cook all her life. She always brought me hot pies and other delicacies. I was very tired because one of them was growing me, and I didn't understand it. I was playing with the yard boys and demanded a new phone, a new computer. Mom was trying her best. She took shifts on weekends just so I didn't need anything. I wanted a beautiful life, like on TV, to spend money on both sides and not give up on anything. After school, I graduated from the technical school. My mother hired me to work at a factory, through friends, a carpenter. I was always whining, swearing, making her nervous. I thought she was thinking old stereotypes. Doesn't let me turn around. Like, what kind of life is this to make money for a penny? I want a lot at once. For example, to win a lottery or to get rich somehow quickly and easily. So I contacted a bad company. I started drinking, playing for money. And I became like a sick person, you know? I spent all my salary there. I was waiting for me to win a big meal and become a king. Mom was so worried about me. She was scolding me. She tried to reach me, but I couldn't hear her at all. I was just waving. Mom couldn't stand it. She couldn't watch me roll down. She fell down and died of a heart attack. It's all my fault. I brought her down. When Mom was around, I didn't notice. There she was. But after her death, I remembered. The apartment immediately became so empty. No one asked for love anymore. How are you today, son? How are you? I love you so much. I used to be so angry with this eternal question, and now I would give everything just to hug my mom. Well, I've been playing gambling for some time, but my friends didn't give up. They were going after the money, and I took up the old ones again. So, in the midst of gambling, I lost my apartment, or rather, I lost to one bandit. And when I tried to get it back with my fists, I was beaten and ordered to disappear forever. Otherwise, they would have threatened to kill him. And so that I would not go to them for any complaints, they took my passport. That's how I became a homeless. It's good that even the late grandmother has a house in the outskirts. That's the name. I live in it now. Without documents, of course, I can't get a job anywhere. So I work there. That's the way the princess is. This is my salary for everything I have done. Alya was shocked. She didn't understand. but you can restore your passport. Tell them you lost it, you'll write a statement, and they'll give you a new one. You need to pay the fine, though, but I'll give you money for it, don't worry. Igor scratched his back. It's not about money, though they also have it, of course. I'm afraid of these scoundrels, you know? They promised to kill me. But you're right, you need to do something. I'm so tired of dog life. And what about you? You never made up with your father and kids. You grow them all by yourself. It's hard, I guess. Alya, too, suddenly got out of her own way. And there was no father or kids. I, as Maria's maid, decided to get a good education. I agreed to the ECO procedure at the will of my father. Who would believe it in life? You know, I'm rich, my father doesn't have a lot of money, but isn't it easier for me? And she told me everything since childhood. Everything that hurt me during all these years. Why? She didn't know it herself. It was just necessary for someone to listen to her. And at the end she added, but you know, despite all the difficulties, I really love my children, and it doesn't matter who they are. Mine in everything. It's a pity that now I can definitely put a cross on my personal life. Who would need me with such a trailer? But it's okay. I will live for my little ones. You know, that's my destiny. Then Igor was shocked by what he heard and said, wow, you're a real heroine mother. Not everyone can do that. Yes, your father is a fruit. Why is he so harsh with you? Is it love? It seems we are both unlucky. We screwed up. You can't get it right. You know, Alya, I'm so glad we met. I often remembered you. After all, our first meeting was like an amazing adventure for me. And it's so easy and good to be with you. Just sit and talk like this. It's like a small thing, but how much easier it is on the soul. Alya smiled. That's for sure. Let's meet more often in the park. I have to walk with the kids every day. And you come. Tomorrow at 1:00 we'll chat again. Is it okay? So they started seeing each other almost every day. They couldn't talk. It turned out they were so similar in character. They had the same tastes in food, music, and movies. Alya gave Igor an inexpensive phone, and now they were always in touch. Of course, soon Yevgeny Borisovich was told that his daughter regularly meets with some suspicious wanderer in the park. The businessman was angry and arranged Alya a real divorce. Are you in your right mind? Or have you lost your mind after giving birth? Why are you making friends with the wanderers? What kind of things can happen to them? Why do I find out about this from strangers? I almost got ashamed when I heard this. Alya shook her head and began to justify herself. Dad, please don't shout, or you'll wake up the children. Igor is a good guy and we are friends. You know, he's so polite and well-read. It's nice to talk to him, and he's so silly. Soon he'll restore the documents and be like everyone else. Yevgeny Borisovich was completely confused. But tell me, Alya, why don't you have peace with him? Did you find someone to be friends with? Maybe you fell in love with this bum? Remember, I forbid you to see him. Don't disgrace my surname if you wear it. Alya suddenly left her and went on the offensive. I'm sick of your surname, Daddy. You better leave me alone in the shelter, you benefactor. You don't let me breathe. You don't let me live. Everything should be your way. Don't you understand that you've ruined my youth and ruined my life? You never cared about my childhood. What I want. If you want to know, I hated this stupid swimming. I'm still afraid of water. And this is an icon. Did you think about me when you made me do it? Is this love of a father to a daughter? Who do I need with 3 children now? Yes, I love my children. I live for them. But I'm only years old, and I have the right to personal life. Enough. I'm tired of it. This is my life, and I will meet or be friends with whoever I consider necessary. His daughter didn't allow this to happen before. He clenched his fists and sang. Oh, you've spoken too much. You're ungrateful. This is how all the new friends affect you. Well, it's okay. I'll fix it. Don't leave the house barefoot. Sit with the children. This is your job. Alya cried bitterly and shaved her childhood. Hearing Boris's cry, she began to change his diaper. She felt so bad and so offended. But why doesn't Dad love her? Why doesn't he want to hear her? To understand? Why doesn't he let her live? Will it always be like this? Yevgeny Borisovich was not happy. He walked around the office and thought, how can I get my daughter away from this? Follow the one my daughter meets in the park at the garden, and scare him well, so that he doesn't come near her anymore. Tell him I'll put him in jail. And what will I find? These scoundrels must be making mistakes. Don't be shy. It's very important. Alya, of course, did not listen to her father. And a couple of days later she met Igor again. She was so upset with her father's behavior. She told everything to her friend. He was just shaking his head. Then he answered with a fever. You're a tyrant, not a father. How can you be so mean to your daughter? You know, Alya, after the meeting with you, I changed a lot. And now I look at life in a completely different way. I decided to start everything from the beginning, from scratch. Tomorrow I'll go to the passport table and decide everything with the documents. Stop lying, fool. I promise, as soon as everything is ready, I will immediately start looking for a decent job and will help you. I want you to leave your father and try to start your own life, not by the father's order, but by the way you want it. I understand that it will be very difficult for you with 3 kids, but I will be with you. Together we can do it. We both need to change something in life to become happy. What do you think? Alya was amazed at how accurately Igor expressed her own thoughts and dreams, and quietly answered, This is my over-exaggerated dream, for Dad to leave me alone and not get into my life. But I'm not the only one who decides on such a desperate step, and if you were by my side, I would really like it. But let's first solve all our problems, and then we'll see. I really like you, Igor, honestly. We are dear to each other, and I really hope we won't part. Okay, I have to run. My buttons are already rumbling. Well then, until the weekend, I'll be looking forward to our next meeting. Bye. Igor hugged her warmly, then stroked her cheeks with the boots, those who were already smiling at him, and went home in a high mood, with a firm intention to change everything. Alya literally turned his whole life upside down, bursting into a whirlwind. Now all his thoughts were only about her. He admired her courage and was amazed by the patience. He was in love with her with a sweet, open smile. He had never experienced such strong feelings in his life. It was not passion, not love, but something more, a deep, emotional attachment and the fear of losing her. The guy didn't even suspect that he was waiting for him at the turn to his own home. Some strong guys started to beat on him and repeat, Don't come near your daughter, Sherbakova. Don't come near her? Okay. Otherwise you won't get away alive from here. The guy closed his eyes, fell down, and losing consciousness, he was still whispering straight. You could do whatever you want with me, but I won't leave her anyway. Alya barely waited for the weekend. She gathered the kids for a walk and went there with a smile, looking forward to meeting Igor. She had so much news. Barenka and Vitalikov only learned yesterday how to crawl like a crab. And Yulia clearly said, Mom, Grandpa. And the baby almost had a diathesis. And it was also a little victory for Olya. She was so eager to share. But to her surprise, Igor was not near their favorite bench. She waited an hour for him, walking with the babies back and forth. Alya was very upset and began to worry, to think about what could have happened, why and where Igor had disappeared. Then she decided to take a walk to his old house. She knew the address. It was not far away. It's strange, there's no one at the door. And then Alya noticed the trampled grass nearby, and also a clearly dried puddle of blood. Everything was burning inside her. Alya, not remembering himself, began to knock on the door of the neighbors. An elderly man came out here. The young mother began to ask him anxiously, Excuse me, have you seen Igor, your neighbor? I can't reach him, and he's not at home. The neighbor sighed. Yes, this happened a couple of days ago, on Thursday. I was just walking from the store. I see our Igor lying unconscious, in a puddle of blood, all beaten. But I called an ambulance and help. He was taken to the RD City Hospital, I think. It's a pity, man. Who did this to him? Alya's legs just got tamed. She felt sick. She immediately called the nanny, left the baby with her, and rushed to the hospital. She thought only about one thing. Oh my God, how is Igor? What's wrong with him? He doesn't have any documents. Who will treat him there? He needs help. You can't leave a person in trouble. Alya found out for a long time where the guy was put. Finally, the nurse at the post found out everything and took his eyes off. She said quietly, I feel very sorry for you, but your friend fell into a coma yesterday. He has severe bruises and shivers. He is on the verge of life and death. The woman cried and muttered, "But how come? What kind of people beat him up for her? He is so quiet. Maybe some medicine is needed. I'll get everything. Just save him, I beg you." The doctor came to her. They talked for a long time, and he promised to notify her about all the changes in Igor's condition. Alya paid for all the procedures and took care of him, and began to visit the guy in the hospital regularly. But she was told the same thing. The condition is critical. There is no dynamics. Get ready for the worst. Olga cried. She could not accept the fact that Igor might not recover. She prayed for his health and believed that he would still recover. I also hated those bastards who beat him up, but the trouble doesn't come alone. And a week later, the police came to the house of Sherbakov. They took my father and accused him of beating Igor. The statement was written by his deputy and provided a video taken on the phone with beating the homeless. Alya couldn't believe what she heard and beat herself up. "Dad, tell me it's all not true. You couldn't do that. How can you beat a man to death? Why? Answer me. I want to know the truth." Asherishin's businessman did not resist and quietly replied, "Yes, I ordered my head of security service to scare this tramp so that he would step back from you, but not to kill him. I did not want this daughter. Forgive me, but am I not a human being? I hate you, Dad. You ruined my life again. You destroyed it. For what? How dare you? What did Igor do to you?" Yevgeny Borisovich did not understand anything. What kind of self-government? After all, I ordered only to scare, not to kill. Someone obviously set me up. All this is sewn with white threads. But how to prove this, Alya? Because his daughter hates him now, they consider him a murderer. And if this unfortunate one really dies, what then? How much will they give me? Oh my God! What have I done? And what have I attached to him? Well, we talked and talked. It's all my ambitions that are to blame. I feel sorry for the boy. He's young. He's a child's friend. For Alya, hard times have come. She literally tore between the hospital and the children. Everything was on her fragile shoulders. Although she was very angry with her father, she still gave him a warm insulator and all the necessary things. And she hired a smart lawyer. She couldn't help it. Alya saw and knew from early childhood. Father can be tough, strict, cold sometimes, but he will not lie. Under no circumstances. He hated lies. So someone really set up Dad. Igor was specially beaten to death to hide her dad behind the bars. One day, Alya got out of the hospital. She was out of strength. Igor was not getting better. The doctors just started to help him. The father also had a heart attack on his nerve, and he was in a prison hospital. 3 children were waiting for her at home, who demanded attention from them. She decided to go to the temple for a short while, on the way, to light a candle and to pray for the health of Igor and her dad. After all, these are the 2 closest people in her life. God forbid they get lost. She prayed so. He was just smiling at Alya. She was sitting next to him and telling him everything she had to go through during those days. Then she added, "Igor, my dad swore that he wouldn't let the command beat you. He asked me to talk seriously so that you wouldn't approach me. He himself doesn't know why and who beat you so cruelly. I think he's not lying. He never lied to me in life, not once, and in anything. Dad had a heart attack in prison. I'm angry at him, it's true, and yet I feel sorry for him. He got confused himself. He went too far. If you decide to write a statement to him, I will understand. You got so much, almost died, and my dad is involved in this." The guy quietly replied, "I will not write a statement, don't worry. Everything will be fine. Thank you for being with me. They told me you paid for my treatment. You are a wonderful, kind little man, Alya. I have never met such people. And your father? I hope he will understand what he has done. The prison will not make him kinder." Alya was crying and whispering, "Thank you. I hope now he will let go. When will all this end? It will be a terrible nightmare. Take note, I will not let you go to your old house, where there are no conditions and the cold of the dog. As soon as you are discharged, we will rent an apartment and start a new life, as we dreamed. If you don't mind, in the end I can sell my jewelry. For the first time, we will definitely have enough." Igor puked weakly and looked at her so tenderly. "I agree. Now everything will be different. Believe me, we will have our own family, and no one can stop us from doing this. Yevgeny Borisovich was really released soon. Igor didn't write anything and didn't make any claims to the banker. The man was happy. He finally went out of prison and enjoyed the smell of freedom. A jeep was waiting for him at the gate. The driver opened the door. The businessman thought his daughter would come, but she wasn't there. When he came home, he didn't immediately realize that there were no things at home, and no children either. There were beds and benches, and there was a note on the table in the kitchen. "We are together now. Take it and don't ruin my life. I didn't deserve it." The businessman sat down like a munched-up stool and grabbed his head. "Old fool, idiot, idiot. What have you achieved? What did you stay with?" He kept pushing his daughter. His temper was getting worse. And eventually he lost both Alya and his grandchildren. The huge mansion suddenly became so empty and cold. No one heard about the gawking and the whining of the kids. No one cooked delicious breakfasts and didn't wait for him at home. At first, Yevgeny Borisovich decided to deal with the person who set him up. He conducted his investigation and found out that his deputy worked secretly on competitors, and that it was Igor's hand that was beating them. It was he who persuaded the head of the security service to do his job, and the boss would obey. He said, "The owner is old. We will hide him in prison, and then we will turn around and see him." Yevgeny Borisovich drove the whole bus to the street with a wolf ticket, but it didn't get any easier. At home, it was still sad. He was desperately missing his daughter and grandchildren, and his conscience was tormented. Not by human, somehow everything came out. He didn't even ask for forgiveness from the poor guy. And he, for his fault, almost gave his soul to God. The businessman decided to correct his mistake and ask for forgiveness from his daughter and Igor. Let them live if they fell in love with each other. He didn't have any problems finding out the address, and he went to visit them. He was very worried about how they would accept him. What if they don't let him in? And they will be right. He did so much filth to his daughter, but all out of good intentions. Alya just fed the whole family for lunch. Igor ate and praised the sheeps. And the kids in the walkways were knocking on the table with a spoon and trying to eat vegetable puree, funny smeared all over their faces. Suddenly, they called the door. Alya got tense. Who could it be? We are not waiting for anyone. Maybe the owner of the apartment came for some reason? The young mom went to open the door and banged on the door. There was a father with a large bag and a bouquet of beautiful scarlet roses. He strolled and said, "Forgive me, daughter. I came to make up. Let me go. You won't catch up." Alya's heart was trembling. She had never seen such a father before. No shame or superiority. And these bitter words of forgiveness were so sincere. She couldn't stand it. Hugged him. "Come on, Daddy, my hands. We're just having lunch. I'll pour you some tea now." Igor was suspiciously looking at the businessman, still not fully believing that he really came with good in their house. But he started on the go. "Wait, daughter. I'll eat later. I need to say something important. Igor, I'm very guilty before you. I'm sorry. But I didn't order you to kill yourself, I swear. Forgive me if you can. I'm guilty of both of you children. It's too late. I realize that everyone has their own happiness. Alya is not like me, like many. I couldn't accept it for a long time. I wanted to see her as a tough and strong girl, so that she could take over my business. I was deliberately making her such difficulties, as if they were exams. I thought that overcoming them, she would get her character back. And Alya, poor thing, was suffering in silence for so many years. And when I lost her, I suddenly realized how much I love her, how much I miss her, how much I lack grandchildren. I rethought everything, guys. And I won't bother you anymore. Honestly. Well, Igor, peace?" The guy smiled and shook his hand to the businessman. "Peace, Yevgeny Borisovich. I'm glad you understood everything. Alya, she's wonderful. Amazing. I love her. And the kids too. Here, look what I taught them." Igor clapped in his palm, and the children clapped in his answer. Synchronously, one hand and the other. It turned out to be fun. Everyone laughed. Yevgeny Borisovich took Yulia in his arms. Then Boria and Vitalik began to hug and kiss them, and tears rolled down their eyes. "My sweet, my good, how I missed you. Tadulia can't live without you." Then the businessman suggested, "Igor, if you need help with the documents, just tell me. I'll arrange everything at once." I have connections everywhere. Write me your data, year, and place of birth, and I'll speed up the release of my new passport. The guy was happy. Thank you. I'll be glad. I went there 3 weeks ago, and you're there now. So, write down Karamazov Igor Evgenievich. Yevgeny Borisovich froze with a notebook in his hand. What did you say? Karamazov? It can't be. What's your mother's name? The guy was stunned. Ksenia Valerievna Karamazova. Mom died, unfortunately. Father Alya got pale and grabbed his heart. Alya got scared and brought a glass of water from the voilet. Dad, what's wrong with you? Are you sick? Here, drink some water and suck the voilet. Heart again? Yevgeny Borisovich came to his senses a little and began to tell a story. Oh, it was a long time ago. I had a romance with one girl, Ksyusha. Hot, passionate, but not long. She was from a poor family. Her grandmother grew up. But my parents didn't like Ksyusha at once, and they persuaded me to give up this simple life. I had to go to the north for the money, but we broke up for a long time, and our fates parted. I thought that my business was forced, but it turned out that my parents had built it up on purpose to separate us. They thought that if I came back, I would forget my fiancé and marry someone richer. But everything turned out differently. It was there in the north that I got seriously ill. I was cold. And then I never had children. I made a career, built a business, but never got married. I was looking for Ksyusha, but I never found her. So I took Alya out of the shelter. But I have a son. I need to do a genetic test. But I'm almost sure it's you, Igor. You are my son. Oh my God, I'm so ashamed. I almost killed my own son. Forgive me if you can. Igor was shocked. Everything he heard was not in his head. He looked at the businessman with all his eyes and muttered, But I don't know. Mom never told anything about my father. Sometimes she muttered that the pilot is a polar bear. I thought she was telling me fairy tales, and it turns out that the truth was in her words. I need to think it over. Forgive me, but I'm not ready to call you Dad yet. Give me some time. And in general, all this is not yet certain. Yevgeny Borisovich suddenly began to beg. Daughter, Alya, Igor, come back home. The mansion is huge. With 3 kids, there is much more convenient. And I'm glad, but I can't be alone there. I'm sick of it, even if I'm a wolf. I promise no more interference. Live as you want, just next door. Young people thought over the offer and agreed. In fact, why waste money on renting an apartment when you have your own house? Genetic examination confirmed the relationship between Yevgeny Borisovich and Igor. But despite this, their relationship did not get along well at first. The guy did not trust the businessman for a long time, waiting for some kind of trick or reproach from his side. But time passed. Yevgeny Borisovich really changed a lot. He was no longer ashamed, but proud of his family. And with all his might, he tried to make things right for his son. He helped him restore his documents and started a company while he was a manager. He taught everyone how to call each other. Their close daily communication gave them their rewards. Soon, father and son became truly close people. They advised each other, respected everyone's opinion, and finally, a warm-hearted relationship began between them. But the businessmen didn't forget about their daughter. On the contrary, he praised Alya, trying to show how much he values and loves her. Their family became truly united and friendly. And 6 months later, they decided to have a grand wedding. Now, the businessman didn't care that people would talk about them. He didn't care about the court. The main thing is that everyone is happy, and the rest doesn't matter. The children grew up and were happy. Igor was the most faithful, the most caring husband and daddy. And Alya never regretted that she once so spontaneously and naively chose this wanderer, her husband and father. First on the outside, and then for real for the rest of her life. This is not what happens in life.